When did you discover your mom's secret plan to ruin your aunt's wedding? #AITA for accidentally maybe ruining my aunt's wedding, because I found out my absent mom was trying to professionally assassinate her at a conference. I'm 19 and I am so out of my depth. I'm sitting here in the hotel lobby at 3:47 a.m. pretending to look at a PDF of the conference schedule on my cracked iPhone 14 screen, but I'm really just trying not to scream into the extremely expensive beige carpet. My stomach feels like I swallowed a handful of gravel. I need to get this out before I completely lose it. Tell me I'm not crazy. Tell me I'm not the villain here. Okay, so I don't even know where to start with this dumpster fire, but let's go with the most dramatic part right. I just found out about 4 hours ago that the reason my mom, Teresa Patterson, 44F, agreed to finally show up for my Aunt Martha's wedding is because she was literally planning to destroy her professional life during the pre-wedding professional conference they are both attending. Like actual corporate sabotage. And I am the one who tipped the scales. In GL, I feel like I need 3 gallons of Talenti gelato and a long talk with my therapist, who I can't even afford right now because my insurance deductible isn't met. I'm Alan Ward, 19M, and I'm a sophomore at community college trying to figure out if I even want to major in comp sci. I'm usually pretty low-key, introspective learner type, you know? I observe things, I analyze. I definitely don't usually get involved in high-stakes family drama that involves corporate espionage and wedding catering. But here we are. My mom, Teresa, 44F, has always been absent. Emotionally, physically, you name it. She's one of those hyper-successful biotech executives who uses phrases like synergy and leveraging assets constantly, and she only calls me on my birthday and maybe Christmas, usually zelling me $50 right before she hangs up. She left when I was 10. She's always been obsessed with her career. Her older sister, my Aunt Martha Edwards, 56F, is the complete opposite. Martha is the one who raised me, frankly. She took me in, made sure I ate, helped me with my AP history papers, and she's just solid. Martha is also a biotech executive, but she runs a smaller, ethics-focused consultancy firm which constantly puts her in the path of the big, soulless corporations like the one Teresa runs. Martha is getting married this Saturday. She's marrying Peter, a lovely guy who works in environmental policy. It's supposed to be this huge, gorgeous affair at this resort attached to the Omni Hotel Convention Center. Why a convention center wedding? Because both Martha and Teresa were already scheduled to present at the massive annual BioFuture Innovation Summit being held there all week, Tuesday through Friday. The wedding is Saturday. It made logistics easier. Martha booked the event spaces, planning everything down to the tiny individual Ben and Jerry's tubs for dessert. The whole lead-up has been stressful. Martha is type A, but in a sweet way. She was stressing about the $43.67 grocery bill for the bridesmaid brunch ingredients and whether her 2018 Honda Civic would make it another month. She's real. Teresa, meanwhile, flies in on Tuesday morning, looking like she stepped out of a magazine, carrying a designer tote that probably costs more than my tuition. She hasn't spoken to Martha in 3 years, not since a major falling out over a pat dispute. We were all shocked she let alone agreed to speak at the same conference. Martha kept saying, "This is a sign, Alan, she's putting the family first." She's finally realizing that success isn't everything. I remember looking at her. She was wearing her favorite faded red cardigan, drinking her Starbucks Pike Place coffee, trying to coordinate the seating chart on her laptop at the kitchen table, and I remember thinking, past Martha, you're so naive. I mean, Teresa doesn't do anything unless it benefits her career. Literally nothing. She didn't come to my high school graduation because she had a critical Q4 strategy session. But she flew across the country for this conference and her estranged sister's wedding. Something smelled wrong, and it wasn't just the slightly stale leftover Chipotle I ate for lunch. I'm here this week because I'm serving as the tech assistant for Martha's wedding setup, Reed, glorified errand boy. I've been running between the hotel conference halls and the private wedding suites, setting up lighting, handling the PowerPoint presentations for the speakers including Martha and Teresa, and generally being helpful. My schedule for Tuesday alone was insane. 6 a.m. wake up, 7 a.m. coffee run, 9 a.m. setup for Martha's presentation keynote, ethical sourcing in biotech, 11:47 a.m. picking up flowers, 1 p.m. IT triage for the main auditorium. The main event that week was the innovation panel on Thursday, where Martha and Teresa were scheduled to speak back-to-back. This panel was huge. It was basically a showcase for the top talent in their field, and the moderator was a major investor named Dr. Fielding. This was Martha's chance to really put her ethics firm on the map and attract serious funding. It was also Teresa's chance to, look amazing and corporate. So the first real red flag popped up Tuesday night. I was finishing up in the main auditorium, uploading Martha's slides to the main presentation server. Because she's technically not great with tech, she still calls TikTok that dancing app. Teresa's presentation was already loaded. Her files were labeled T. Patterson Future Synergy V3. I was sitting there chewing on a stale Panera bagel, logging off, when I noticed a weird file extension in the server directory that wasn't Martha's or Teresa's. It was a single cryptic folder labeled ME Dissolution. I clicked on it. Yes, I know I shouldn't have, but my gut was screaming. And honestly, I am 19, I am nosy, and I am protective of Martha. Inside the folder were 3 documents. 2 were detailed, highly confidential financial analyses of Martha's company, showing major vulnerabilities, projected client losses, and even a breakdown of her last $1,247 rent payment for the office space on the 5th floor of her building. The specificity was terrifying. How did Teresa get these? The 3rd document was the real kicker. It was a draft PowerPoint presentation titled The Ethics Mirage, When Small Firms Fail to Deliver. It was structured to immediately follow Martha's presentation on Thursday. It didn't mention Martha by name, but the slides clearly countered her entire thesis point by point, using the highly specific confidential data from the other files to systematically dismantle every single ethical promise Martha's firm makes. It was vicious. It was clinical. It was a complete professional hit job. My hands started shaking so hard I almost dropped my iPhone. I felt that full-body tremor you get when you realize something fundamentally awful is happening. This wasn't just professional jealousy, this was career assassination timed for maximum impact right before Martha's wedding. I ran out of the auditorium and found Martha in her suite. She was on a video call with Peter, finalizing the menu. Apparently, there was a minor catastrophe involving the late delivery of the specialty wine. She was talking about how she needed to save money by opting for the cheaper centerpieces, $347 difference. I pulled her aside. I was stammering. "Martha, I think I saw something on the server about your presentation. It's bad." She looked at me, slightly annoyed because she was dealing with the wine vendor. "Alan, sweetie, the Wi-Fi is terrible in here. Did you make sure those slides for ethical sourcing loaded properly? My computer is acting up. The Android battery keeps dying at 3%. I told her exactly what I saw, quoting the document titles. I kept repeating dissolution. She called it dissolution, Martha. Martha went from stressed wedding planner to I scold executive in about 3 seconds. Her face just shut down. She didn't panic. She just got very, very still. That's when I knew it was true. "Teresa," she whispered, "the audacity, the absolute audacity." Then she explained the history. The patent dispute 3 years ago wasn't just a squabble. Teresa stole intellectual property from a joint project they were working on to launch her own larger firm, which led to a catastrophic financial loss for Martha. Martha had forgiven Teresa for leaving me. She had forgiven her for being a terrible sister, but she had never forgiven her for the betrayal of their professional trust. And now, Teresa was back for the coup de grace. She knew I couldn't ignore the conference, Martha said, pacing her suite, the silk dressing gown swishing around her. "This panel is essential for my funding. If she drops this information, especially to Dr. Fielding, my firm is finished. I'm ruined." And she planned the wedding sabotage as a cover. I asked her what she was going to do. "Should we delete the files? Go to the conference organizers?" Martha shook her head. "No, Alan, that's what she expects. I'll handle Teresa. Just focus on your technical duties for the wedding setup." That was the end of Tuesday. Martha spent all of Wednesday making frantic calls, canceling her 1-hour massage appointment she had booked at the hotel spa, and essentially going into full defense mode. I was doing my part, moving chairs, running to Target for emergency decorative items, and trying to ignore the fact that my entire family drama was playing out in an adjacent ballroom to where I was assembling IKEA chairs. Teresa arrived Wednesday afternoon. She looked stunning, wearing a sharp navy suit and carrying an expensive leather briefcase. She gave me a very brief professional hug, smelling faintly of expensive perfume and ambition. "Alan," she said, giving me a once-over. "You look tired. Are you eating enough? Make sure you capitalize on the networking opportunities here. That's why I brought you." I just nodded, unable to meet her eyes. She thought I was here for networking. I was here to protect the woman who actually raised me. Wednesday night, I got a text from Teresa, which was weird since she usually communicates via her executive assistant. "Teresa, Alan, I need your help with a minor IT issue. Meet me in my suite 1207 at 9:00 a.m. sharp tomorrow. Bring your laptop. And tell Martha I need the full transcript of her presentation ASAP for rehearsal purposes." The rehearsal purposes part was a joke. She wanted to fine-tune her hit job, and she wanted me to willingly participate by bringing her the transcript. I didn't respond immediately. I was too busy stressing about the $200 withdrawal I needed to make from my checking account to pay the deposit for my next semester. I went straight to Martha's suite. She was drinking chamomile tea, looking exhausted but determined. I showed her the text. She laughed, a dry, bitter sound. Of course. She needs the full script to know exactly where to land her punches. This is exactly what I expected. She's predictable. Then Martha looked at me, really looked at me, and this is where I knew I was in deep. "Alan, I have a plan, but it requires finesse. I need you to go to her suite at 9 a.m. tomorrow, exactly as she asked. Bring your laptop, but you won't be helping her rehearse." "What am I doing?" I asked, feeling my heart start to race. I was 19. I wasn't equipped for corporate espionage. I hadn't even finished my first coffee that day. "You're going to give her exactly what she asked for," Martha said, reaching into a small, locked metal box that she usually keeps her important contracts in. She pulled out a sleek, modern USB drive. "But you're going to put something else on her laptop first, something that will ruin her presentation but not the whole conference." I swallowed hard. "Sabotage. Call it an equalizing measure," Martha corrected, her voice low. "If she tries to assassinate my career, she won't be able to deliver her own speech, and Dr. Fielding will know she's unprofessional or worse, technologically incompetent. It levels the playing field." I felt physically ill. This was major, like serious consequences major. "Martha, if I get caught, you won't," she assured me. "You're just her dutiful son trying to help his mom with her tech problems. You're an introspective learner, Alan. You know how to observe and manipulate systems. I need you to swap the drive, delete the dissolution file from the server while you're there, just in case, and get out. This is for the wedding, Alan. This is for my future." That sealed it. The wedding. The fact that Teresa was going to ruin the one good thing Martha had going on. So Thursday morning. This is where I am right now, sitting in the lobby because I haven't been able to leave my spot since 11:00 a.m. I went to Teresa's suite 1207 at 8:58 a.m. I was wearing my slightly too tight gray conference polo shirt and black trousers, feeling like a sweaty agent of chaos. The room was pristine, smelling faintly of citrus and cold, hard cash. Teresa was wearing a crisp white blouse and was already on a call with her team, discussing Q1 projections, totally ignoring me. Sit, she mouthed, pointing to a small desk where her high-end corporate Dell laptop was sitting open. I sat down, pulling out my own beat-up laptop, making sure my cracked screen was visible so I looked like a harmless college kid. I placed Martha's USB drive, the one with the decoy files, and the virus payload that Martha assured me would just freeze her operating system during the presentation. Nothing permanent, just reputation damaging, on the desk next to the coffee maker. Teresa finally hung up her call at 9:15 a.m. Right, Alan, I need you to find those transcripts, transfer them to my C drive, and while you're at it, I can't seem to access the main auditorium server from here. Can you log in and check the permissions for my Synergy deck? I just want to be sure everything is secure. Perfect. She literally invited me into the system. I plugged in the decoy USB drive. My hands were barely shaking now. I was running on pure adrenaline and repressed family trauma. I used a simple keyboard shortcut to upload the virus payload, which was disguised as a massive, corrupted video file, to her main presentation folder. This was supposed to freeze her laptop right as she clicked the first slide. Then I logged into the conference server through her machine. I quickly navigated to the ME dissolution folder and deleted it. Confirmed, it was gone. I was feeling a huge wave of relief. Martha was safe. I was about to unplug, tell Teresa I was done, and bolt. Wait, Alan, Teresa said, leaning over my shoulder, smelling strongly of perfume and fear. Before you go, could you quickly check my personal files? I keep getting this notification about storage being full. It's annoying. I think it's photos from my last trip to Singapore. She gestured to a folder on her desktop labeled personal. Now, I shouldn't have gone into her personal files. I know this is where I messed up. But I thought, what the hell, I'm already a hacker for my aunt. I clicked it, intending just to look at the file sizes. The folder wasn't full of Singapore photos. It was full of highly detailed, almost obsessive documents about Martha's wedding plans. I'm talking guest lists, vendor contracts, precise financial breakdowns, $1,200 for the DJ, $4,500 for the catering deposit. Every piece of paper related to the wedding was here, including the catering plan. And then I saw the final file. It was a single, terrifyingly small text file labeled Final Menu Swap Instructions, 3 p.m. Saturday TXT. My stomach bottomed out. I clicked it, desperately hoping it was just a typo or a vendor detail. The file wasn't a typo. It was a set of instructions, written in Teresa's clinical, corporate tone, detailing exactly how to tamper with the food right before the reception dinner on Saturday. The instructions mentioned specific food allergies of certain high-profile guests, including Dr. Fielding, and detailed how to substitute an allergen, a specific type of nut oil, into the main entree right before it was served. This wasn't just a corporate hit job. This was targeted, personalized physical sabotage designed to cause maximum damage and humiliation, specifically to ruin the wedding and likely send several high-profile guests to the hospital, thereby ruining Martha's personal reputation forever. I froze. My fingers went cold. I had planned for professional jealousy. I had not planned for attempted wedding poisoning. Teresa looked at the clock, getting impatient. Alan, status report. I need to be on the floor by 9:45. I pulled the decoy USB drive out of her laptop, shoving it into my pocket. My brain was cycling through wedding sabotage, nut allergy, and I'm 19 on repeat. I managed to say, my voice sounding strained. All set, Mom. Permissions look fine, just a lot of large files, that's why the storage warning. I needed to get out. I needed to tell Martha. I needed to call the catering hall. I scrambled up, putting my laptop into my bag. Teresa was already moving toward the door. Good. Now you need to go downstairs and check the sound system in the main hall. I want you to sit in the back and make sure my mic is crisp. This presentation is crucial. I rushed out of the suite, not even making eye contact. I ran straight to Martha's suite, ignoring the 27 calls my actual father had sent me in the last hour about my car insurance payment being late. I knocked once hard. Martha opened the door immediately, already dressed in her conference outfit. She looked anxious. Did you do it? Is it done? Did you delete the dissolution file? Yes, it's deleted, I gasped, leaning against the door frame, trying to regulate my breathing. But Martha, you have to hear me. It's not just the presentation. She's going to sabotage the wedding too, the catering. She has instructions to swap the ingredients, nut oil, targeting specific guests. Martha didn't say anything for a long moment. She just stared at me, her eyes wide, the color draining from her face. She wouldn't, Martha finally whispered. That's criminal. I saw the file, Martha. Final menu swap instructions, 3 p.m. Saturday. She's aiming for humiliation and physical harm to destroy your reputation totally. Martha turned around, walking 3 steps into the room and then stopping dead. She grabbed her Apple Watch and looked at the time. The panel starts at 10:30. Teresa is going on first. Wait, I said, realizing the implications of my sabotage. If the virus works, she can't present, but if she can't present, she won't be able to go through with the professional assassination. Martha nodded grimly. That's why I planned it, but if she's planning physical sabotage, she trailed off, looking at the USB drive I was still clutching. We have to warn the caterers. We have to call the police, I urged. No time, Martha said, her eyes flashing with a combination of rage and cold calculation. She's going to the main auditorium now. If we go to the caterers now, she'll know why and she'll figure out I knew about the professional hit. She'll get away with the corporate assassination and the wedding will still be at risk. We have to deal with the presentation first. We stop the corporate damage, then we deal with the criminal one. She grabbed my arm. Did you take the file with the instructions? Did you download the catering plan? No, I just saw the title and the content quickly, I admitted. I panicked and left. I deleted the corporate file, but the wedding sabotage file is still on her laptop. Martha groaned, running a hand through her perfectly coiffed hair. The window of opportunity for the catering sabotage is small. She'll have to give the instructions to her accomplice before Saturday morning. We need that file, Alan. It's evidence. So what now? I asked. Do we wait for the presentation to fail? Martha looked at the conference schedule on the desk. The panel is 10:30 to 12:30. Teresa is speaking from 10:30 to 11:00. If your virus works, she'll be stalled for those 30 minutes unable to communicate. We have exactly 30 minutes to get into her suite, retrieve that file, and find out who her accomplice is for the wedding sabotage. But she'll know it was me. She literally just saw me on her laptop, I pointed out. It doesn't matter now, Martha said, her voice hard. She tried to ruin my life, Alan, both professionally and personally. She showed her hand. We are past subtle maneuvers. We are going to her suite right now, but we have to be quick. When she realizes her laptop is frozen, she'll ditch the auditorium and race back to secure her evidence. We ran to the elevator. It felt like a heist movie, but with much lower stakes clothing. We got to the 12th floor, moving quickly down the plush hallway. Martha pulled a key card out of her pocket, one of the master keys for the floor. She had snagged it from the cleaning cart earlier, claiming she needed to check the lighting in an empty room. She swiped it into suite 1207. We rushed in. The room was exactly as I had left it, the corporate laptop open on the desk, the coffee maker still dripping. You get the laptop. Download the entire personal folder to this drive, Martha instructed, shoving a separate, clean USB drive into my hand. I'll check the physical documents. She might have a hard copy. I sat down at the desk. I was breathing shallowly, desperately trying to focus. I plugged in the new drive, navigating immediately to the personal folder. I started copying the whole thing over. Martha was tearing through the room. She checked the briefcase, the drawers under the bed. Nothing, 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 she muttered. She must have the hard copies with her. Then I looked at the bottom corner of the laptop screen. I saw a small window pop up displaying a text message notification that Teresa hadn't closed. It was a message from an unfamiliar number. The text read, "Rehearsal went well. I'm in position. Confirmed 3 p.m. Saturday." Martha, I whispered, pointing to the screen. Her accomplice. It's someone here. They already rehearsed the swap. Martha leaned over, her face inches from the screen. Who is that number? I don't recognize it. Before we could figure it out, the massive flat-screen TV on the wall, which was tuned into the internal conference broadcast, suddenly blared to life with the image of the main auditorium stage. Dr. Fielding, the moderator, was standing at the podium. We seem to be experiencing minor technical difficulties with our first speaker's equipment. Ms. Patterson, are we ready for the future Synergy deck? Teresa, standing next to her frozen laptop, was smiling tightly, looking extremely professional, but her eyes were darting nervously. My virus was working perfectly. She couldn't even click on the desktop. My apologies, Dr. Fielding, Teresa said, her voice smooth and practiced, yet edged with panic. It appears I have a catastrophic system failure. I'll need a moment to reboot. We don't have a moment, Ms. Patterson, Dr. Fielding replied coolly. We must keep to the schedule. In that case, we will move immediately to the next speaker on the agenda, Ms. Martha Edwards. My jaw dropped. Not only did my virus prevent Teresa from delivering her corporate hit job, but it forced Martha to go first, completely derailing Teresa's plan to counterpunch her. Martha froze, staring at the screen, a look of pure, unadulterated triumph mixed with sheer terror on her face. It worked, she breathed. It actually worked. Then we heard the sound of the suite door opening and slamming shut down the hall, followed by extremely fast, angry footsteps coming our way. She's coming back, Martha hissed. She knows the laptop is useless. She's coming for the evidence. Alan, did you get the file? The transfer progress bar on the laptop was agonizingly slow. I was at 92%. Almost 94%, I whispered. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. Martha didn't move. She grabbed a heavy glass ice bucket off the counter, holding it like a weapon. The door handle to suite 1207 started to turn. Get under the desk, Alan. Now, Martha commanded, pushing me forward. I dove under the desk just as the door burst open. I watched from the floor, hiding behind the chair, as Teresa Patterson, 44F, the absent mother and biotech executive, stormed into the room, her eyes blazing with absolute cold fury. She stopped dead when she saw her older sister, Martha Edwards, 56F, standing there in the middle of her suite holding an ice bucket and a look of dangerous calm. Teresa scanned the room, saw the open laptop, and her eyes narrowed, instantly understanding everything. She saw the USB drive dangling from the port, realized I had been there, and then looked back at Martha. You, Teresa snarled, dropping her leather briefcase with a heavy thud. You sent him. You had him sabotage my presentation. And you tried to destroy my firm, Martha countered, her voice steady. And you tried to poison guests at my wedding, Teresa. We have the proof. Teresa laughed, a chilling corporate sound that didn't reach her eyes. Proof? You have nothing. You have paranoia and a faulty laptop. I knew you were desperate, Martha, but this is pathetic. Where is he? She looked under the bed, but missed me behind the heavy rolling chair. He's long gone, Martha lied smoothly, tightening her grip on the ice bucket. But the file isn't Teresa. And by the time you leave this room, the caterers will be warned, the police will be called, and Dr. Fielding will know exactly what you are. Teresa lunged forward, not toward Martha but toward the desk, clearly aiming for the laptop to eject the evidence. Martha swung the ice bucket. It made a sickening, wet clang as it glanced off Teresa's shoulder. Teresa shrieked, not in pain but in pure rage. She pushed past Martha, reaching for the laptop. I saw my opportunity. I reached up and quickly ripped the USB drive out of the laptop port. The transfer was at 99%. Did I get the file? I had no idea. Teresa saw the empty port and realized the evidence was gone. She spun around, her eyes frantic and scanning, locked onto me, hiding under the desk. Alan, she screamed, her polished executive veneer cracking completely. You little snake! She moved toward the desk, but Martha grabbed her from behind, locking her in a furious, messy embrace. They went down onto the expensive carpet, 250-something executives wrestling like teenagers. It was self-defense, Teresa. You tried to ruin my life, Martha yelled, trying to hold her sister down. Teresa managed to shove Martha off. She scrambled back to her feet, adjusting her expensive blouse, looking maniacal. She looked at me, then at the USB drive clutched in my hand, and then at the door. She pointed a finger directly at me, her eyes blazing. You gave that to the caterers, Alan. You tell them, and I will make sure you lose your scholarship. I will ensure neither you nor Martha ever works in this industry again. Martha jumped up, breathing heavily. You won't do anything. Teresa ignored her sister. She looked only at me. You didn't get the accomplice information, did you, Alan? You don't know who is going to slip the oil into the dish on Saturday. You only have a single anonymous text message. I looked down at the USB drive in my hand, feeling the full weight of the situation. I had deleted the corporate file, but I had no idea if the wedding sabotage file had finished transferring at 99%, and I definitely didn't have the identity of the accomplice. Teresa smirked, suddenly calm again, the confidence returning. You think you won the first battle, Martha? You stopped my presentation, but I still have 2 more days, and I have someone waiting in the wings who is already on the payroll. Do you really want to risk the entire wedding knowing I've already corrupted someone else? Martha stepped forward, looking ready to physically tackle her again, but the shrill sound of the room phone ringing stopped her. Teresa instinctively grabbed it. Patterson, she answered curtly. She listened for a moment, her face turning pale. I understand, yes, I'll be right there. She hung up, her face etched with a look of utter, terrifying panic that was clearly not about her failed presentation or the wrestling match. What is it? Martha demanded. Teresa ignored her, grabbing her briefcase and keys and making a break for the door. Tell me what's wrong, Martha shouted, stepping in her path. Teresa glared at us, her voice low and venomous. You may have stopped me from speaking. But apparently there are bigger sharks in this tank. That was the conference organizer. My main rival, Celeste Bancroft, just took the stage for an unscheduled slot. She's giving a presentation right now, and she's using the confidential dissolution data you thought you deleted. My blood ran cold. The dissolution file, I had deleted it from the server on Teresa's laptop, but someone else must have accessed it first. Teresa looked straight at Martha, then at me. It seems someone copied my assassination plan and is using it against us both. And she's not just aiming for your firm, Martha, she's aiming for mine too. Martha and I looked at each other. Celeste Bancroft, Teresa's biggest rival. She was now using Teresa's own stolen data to take down both sisters simultaneously right now in front of Dr. Fielding. We have a problem, Martha whispered, the fight completely gone from her eyes, replaced by terror. A much, much bigger problem. I looked down at the USB drive in my hand. I had the possible wedding sabotage file, but I also had the information that could save both Martha and Teresa's careers from Celeste. We had 30 minutes until Teresa's laptop rebooted, maybe 10 minutes until Celeste finished dismantling their lives on stage. And somewhere in this hotel, Teresa's accomplice was waiting to ruin Martha's wedding on Saturday. I was 19. I was just supposed to be the tech assistant. I was way past my depth. Do I run? Do I check the USB file first? Do I try to help the mother who abandoned me just because she's also being targeted? I am literally shaking right now. I don't know what to do. I don't even know if I got the crucial file. What the fuck do I do next? I swear my heart rate hit 180 beats per minute right there. I'm huddled under the desk, my arm stinging where I ripped the USB out at 99%, and my mother and my aunt, the 2 most powerful people I know, are standing 3 feet away having a corporate meltdown about a rival named Celeste Bancroft who is currently using my mom's own confidential data to burn their empires down. Teresa bolted first, literally grabbed her briefcase, didn't look back at the chaos or the sister she just wrestled, and was out the door in 3 seconds flat. She didn't even try to secure the laptop. She just ran, obsessed with saving her Q4 projections. Martha was breathing heavily, leaning against the wall where the ice bucket clash happened. She looked like she'd just run a marathon in stilettos. Alan, get out from under the desk, she ordered, her voice completely devoid of adrenaline now, just cold calculation. I crawled out, rubbing my knees. I looked at the dangling corporate Dell laptop. The screen was still on, but the conference channel on the TV showed Celeste Bancroft 40s F, razor-sharp black suit, terrifying smile, confidently presenting data slides that looked exactly like the ME dissolution files I thought I'd deleted. The file, I gasped, holding out the USB drive. Did I get the file, the catering one? Martha snatched the drive and jammed it back into the laptop. The transfer progress bar popped up on the screen for a second. Transfer failed. Insufficient space on target drive. I felt my soul exit my body, 99%. I didn't get it, I whispered, feeling sick. The instruction file, it's still on her C drive. Martha didn't scream or panic. She just stared at the screen where Celeste was currently saying something about ethical bankruptcy while showing a chart that clearly referenced Martha's current client list. It doesn't matter right now, Martha said, swiping at the screen to log out of the failed transfer. The catering is Saturday. This, she pointed at the TV where Celeste was making a compelling case against Teresa's entire corporate model, is happening right now. Celeste used Teresa's stolen data to preemptively assassinate both of us. But I deleted the dissolution file, I insisted. You deleted the one on the server, Martha clarified, pacing. Teresa must have emailed it to Celeste as leverage or copied it onto a secondary drive weeks ago. She was always paranoid. Celeste didn't even need the full file, just the key financial metrics which she just showed on slide 14. She's using Teresa's own ammo against her. I slumped into the desk chair. I was a failure. I failed to delete the main threat and I failed to get the wedding evidence. I basically just paused Teresa's presentation for 30 minutes and got shoved under a desk for my troubles. In GL, I wanted to sell myself $50 and pretend I was still in bed, pretending to study comp sci. Look, Martha said, grabbing my shoulder. We have 20 minutes until Teresa's laptop finishes rebooting and she can access her files again. She's probably in the server room trying to find a fix. We need to go after Celeste. Now, how we don't have a presentation, I asked. Celeste's attack hinges on the confidentiality of the data, Martha said, a wild, desperate light in her eyes. She's proving that we Teresa and are corrupt, reckless, and easily exposed. We don't need a presentation, we need leverage. We need to show Dr. Fielding that Celeste is the real threat and that she got the data by hacking or bribing Teresa's people. This requires an alliance, Alan, a temporary, disgusting, necessary alliance. I looked at the conference broadcast again. Celeste was currently taking a sip of expensive bottled water, basking in the attention of the high-profile investors. We need to find Teresa, I said, finally standing up straight. And she needs to know that Celeste is aiming for both of them, not just you. We ran, not to the conference hall but downstairs to the IT operations center, a dark, air-conditioned room where I spent most of my time moving cables. We found Teresa there looking pale and furious, shouting into her phone at a very nervous-looking IT guy named Dave about data integrity and system breaches. Teresa, Martha cut her off, walking right up to her. Teresa whipped around, her eyes instantly hostile. Get out of my way, Martha. This is corporate property damage. I will sue you and your idiot son for everything you own. She's using your data, Teresa, Martha stated, pointing her thumb upstairs. Celeste Vancroft. She's using your dissolution metrics to dismantle your Q4 structure on stage right now. You weren't the only one she wanted to ruin. She wanted you both gone. You're a collateral damage. Teresa froze, the color draining from her face for the second time that morning. She didn't look at Martha. She looked at me, the kid who had just crashed her operating system. Show her, Alan, Martha prompted. I pulled up the live stream of the conference on my cracked iPhone 14, zooming in on the screen showing Celeste's slide deck. Slide 14 displayed a highly complex proprietary financial model that only Teresa's top team had access to. Teresa went silent. That slide wasn't supposed to be public. Ever. She realized in that moment that she hadn't been the hunter, she had been the bait. She copied me, Teresa whispered, running a hand over her slick back hair. The internal security breach. I thought it was localized. She infiltrated my network to steal the blueprint I made for your destruction, Martha, and she's using it to target my entire division. So, Martha said, leaning in, do you want to wrestle me again or do you want to save both our companies? And just like that, the most dysfunctional temporary corporate alliance in biotech history was formed. The next hour was insane. I was the key, TBH. Teresa and Martha, normally hyper-competitive and completely unable to communicate, were forced to use me as their communication bridge. Alan, I need you to cross-reference Celeste's current funding structure with the publicly available quarterly reports, Teresa snapped, handing me her still-warm laptop. It had finally rebooted, thank God. Alan, I need you to find the exact moment 3 years ago when Teresa filed that patent. She screwed me over, but the data timeline proves Celeste was sniffing around our joint project even then, Martha directed, shoving a pile of old contracts into my face. I was running on stale bagels and pure high-stakes adrenaline. I was the introspective learner, the analyst, and suddenly I was the one translating years of corporate enmity into actionable intelligence. Okay, I yelled over the din of IT guys fixing the sound system. Celeste is making the case that ethical sourcing is financially unstable, but I found a receipt trail in Teresa's email archives from when you were working together, Martha, that shows Celeste's firm was using child labor for their supply chain back in 2018. If we hit her with that, it proves she's hypocritical and desperate. The sisters stared at the evidence on my screen. The confirmation of the child labor scandal was buried deep in a 3-year-old encrypted email thread Teresa had kept, probably because she wanted leverage over Celeste later. We have to take the stage immediately, Martha decided, not even glancing at Teresa for approval. We can't let Celeste finish her point. Alan, can you throw together 5 slides showing the timeline of Celeste's fraudulent ethical claims versus the child labor receipts? In 5 minutes, I can try. But I need to upload them fast, I said. Use my credentials, Teresa said, grabbing her badge off the desk and tossing it to me. Go now, Martha, you need to go first. Give the rebuttal, state that Celeste's data is stolen, compromised, and designed to destabilize the market, and then hit her with the ethics claim. It was a beautiful, terrifying, highly illegal plan. I sprinted back to the main auditorium. I uploaded the 5-slide counterdeck directly to the conference server under Martha's ID, bypassing the standard review process NGL. I felt like Jason Bourne, but smelling of fear and hotel coffee. I was in the back row when Martha walked back onto the stage, completely unscheduled. Dr. Fielding looked confused, but Martha just grabbed the mic. Dr. Fielding and esteemed colleagues, Martha announced, her voice booming through the stadium-sized room. I apologize for the disruption, but I must address the fraudulent and potentially stolen data presented moments ago by Ms. Vancroft. She proceeded to deliver the most devastatingly precise, on-the-fly corporate rebuttal I have ever witnessed. She didn't panic. She didn't stammer. She used the data points I quickly synthesized to completely dismantle Celeste's argument, culminating in the final slide I created, which featured the archived emails proving Celeste's gross ethical violation from 2018. Celeste went completely white. The entire room erupted into whispers. Dr. Fielding immediately ended the panel, announcing an internal investigation into the source of the data breach. The alliance worked. They were saved. I expected fanfare. I expected a hug, maybe a check for $500. What I got was a text message at 12:45 p.m. Teresa, thanks for the assist. My laptop is back. I'm moving my files to a secure cloud server. The dissolution file is gone, but the wedding plan is still viable. You have until Saturday, Alan. Do you really want to risk this? Think about your future. I stared at the text. No, sorry, I tried to ruin your aunt's life. No, thank you for saving my career. Just a renewed threat about the nut oil sabotage. The alliance was over before lunch, so it's been 2 days since the conference exploded. It's Friday now. The atmosphere in the hotel is thick with tension. Celeste Bancroft has been officially censured and her conference registration revoked, but the collateral damage, the public nature of the data theft, means both Teresa and Martha are facing serious internal reviews and potential investor anxiety. They are back to hating each other, maybe even more than before. The temporary peace bought by mutually assured destruction was short-lived. I haven't seen Teresa since Thursday afternoon. Martha, meanwhile, is trying to balance saving her firm with finalizing the seating chart. She's completely distracted, pale, and obsessively checking her phone. We still don't have the accomplice, Alan, Martha whispered to me this morning while trying to coordinate the florist delivery. I called Peter. I told him some minor catering chaos might happen. He's taking it seriously. He brought in 2 security guys from his environmental firm to watch the kitchen tomorrow. But they don't know who they're looking for, I pointed out. We need the name. I had the USB drive I tried to download to. It was full of Teresa's personal files, everything except the final sabotage instructions. I spent all of Thursday night scrolling through boring PDFs about Singapore and extremely passive-aggressive texts with her executive assistant. But then I found a small folder within the personal folder labeled Martha Wedding Receipts. Inside were thousands of documents related to the wedding, confirmations for the linen rental, receipts for the Ben and Jerry's tubs, even the invoice for Martha's dress alteration. I saw the actual menu contract. And there, buried beneath 3 years of archived Zelle receipts, was the final clue I had completely missed when I was under the desk. It was an email exchange between Teresa and someone named Jard K. The email was dated 3 weeks ago, subject: finalizing the catering review. The content was chillingly brief. Jard confirmed the access details for the specialty nut oil swap. 3 p.m. Saturday, Jard K. Teresa's accomplice. I immediately ran to Martha's suite. She was on a crisis call, explaining to her primary investor how the Celeste Bancroft incident was merely a momentary lapse of corporate security and not a reflection of her management. Jard K., I hissed when she put the investor on hold. I found it, the accomplice. He emailed her 3 weeks ago about the nut oil swap. He's somehow involved with the catering. Martha snatched the phone from my hand and pulled up the wedding catering contract I'd screenshotted from Teresa's files. She scrolled down the list of employees. Jard K., she repeated, her finger tracing the screen. He's the sous chef. He's been working for Gastronomic Delights for 6 months. He was hired specifically to manage the specialty dishes for the wedding. Teresa must have bribed him, I realized. Maybe he's a former employee she poached, or maybe he's just desperate for cash. Martha immediately called Peter. Peter, it's Jard K., sous chef. Find him. Do not let him near the dishes tomorrow. Peter, who is genuinely the nicest man on earth, went into immediate protective action. He called his security guys. He called the head of catering. He didn't tell them about the poison, just that Jard K. was suspected of extreme theft and inventory compromise and needed to be removed immediately. Peter knew how to leverage corporate language. TBH, fast forward to Saturday morning, the wedding day. I woke up feeling physically ill but also weirdly clean. I had done my job. I saved Martha's firm from the corporate hit, and Peter was handling the catering threat. The first disaster of the day wasn't the nut oil, it was Teresa. Teresa, still furious about the Celeste incident and the internal review she was now facing at her firm, showed up at Martha's suite at 7:30 a.m. looking completely defeated. She wasn't dressed in a crisp suit. She was wearing ripped jeans and a faded sweatshirt. She looked 50 years old. She smelled faintly of cheap airport coffee, not expensive perfume. She knocked quietly. I opened the door. "Where is she, Alan?" Teresa asked, her voice hoarse. "She's with the makeup artist," I said stiffly. "What do you want?" Teresa stepped into the suite, ignoring the flurry of bridesmaids and florists. She walked past the dress hanging on the closet door and looked straight at me. "I need to talk to her," she insisted. "This is important. It's not about the wedding. It's about what happened on Thursday." I looked at her, realizing this wasn't the invincible corporate shark anymore. This was just my mother, terrified of losing everything. "You tried to ruin her life, Mom," I said, unable to keep the bitterness out of my voice. "You planned to destroy her firm, humiliate her at the conference, and then send high-profile guests to the hospital just to completely eradicate her reputation. Why would you do that?" Teresa swallowed hard. She didn't offer an excuse, she didn't apologize, she did something much more revealing. "I needed to win," she finally admitted, looking at the floor. "I've spent 20 years defining myself by how much more successful I am than Martha. When I left you, Alan, I had to justify it. My career had to be everything. If Martha, who stayed, who focused on ethics and family, succeeded, then what did I sacrifice my life, our lives for? If her firm grew, it proved my choices were fundamentally wrong, so I had to stop her. It was a terrible, brutal realization. Her career obsession wasn't just ambition, it was self-justification for leaving me. And the wedding sabotage, I pressed. The nut oil, she was going to bring Dr. Fielding, Teresa said. And Dr. Fielding is allergic to specific tree nuts. Martha knew that. If he got sick, it wouldn't just ruin the wedding, it would look like Martha, the queen of ethics, didn't vet her vendors, thereby undermining her entire firm's mission. It was the quickest way to guarantee her complete professional collapse. I felt the anger boil over. It was attempted assault, Mom. It was criminal. Teresa looked at me and her eyes filled with something that might have been genuine shame. I know I was desperate. I was going to call it off this morning, Alan. I really was. I realized how insane I sounded when I made that call to Jard. You don't get to realize it this morning, I snapped. Martha spent the last 2 days trying to find the accomplice. Peter's security team is already handling Jard K. You ruined her peace. Before she could reply, Martha walked into the room wearing a silk dressing robe, her hair half done, looking radiant but stressed. She saw Teresa and stopped dead. "Get out, Teresa," Martha commanded, her voice quiet and firm. "I came to apologize," Teresa started. "You came because you realized Celeste Bancroft used your own malice to target you and now you want to save your own skin," Martha countered. I don't need your apology. I need you to stay away from me, my wedding, and my firm forever. Celeste used the dissolution file you thought Alan deleted. Teresa shot back, the corporate shark resurfacing just briefly. That means she still has leverage. We aren't safe, Martha. I know we aren't safe, Martha said, walking toward her sister, closing the distance. But I have Alan and I have Peter and I have my integrity. You have the money you sacrificed everything for. Go save your own company, Teresa. Leave mine alone. Teresa hesitated, looking between Martha, radiant, setting boundaries, determined, and me, 19, tired, protective. She pulled a crumpled key card out of her pocket. The wedding instruction file, Teresa said, dropping the key card onto the table. I put it on an encrypted thumb drive and locked it in the safe in my suite 1207. That's the key card. The password is your mother's maiden name spelled backward. Get it? Have your proof. She didn't wait for a response. She turned and walked out of the suite, disappearing into the chaos of the wedding morning. It was the least and the most she had ever given us. We had the key. We had the location. We didn't need the file anymore because Peter had already handled Jard K update. Jard K was intercepted in the kitchen after trying to pull a fast one with the nut oil. Peter's security guys found the container of oil hidden in a spice rack. Jard was immediately removed from the premises, fired, and later faced civil suit from the catering company. But Martha needed closure. Alan, she said, looking at the key card. I'm not going to ruin my wedding day by looking at that evidence. You go, you retrieve it, download the file onto your own drive. You are the one who discovered the truth. This is yours to hold. So 2 hours before the ceremony, I was back in suite 1207, which smelled faintly of anxiety and expensive shampoo. I opened the safe, put in the ridiculously long password, which was indeed my grandmother's maiden name backward, and found the tiny encrypted thumb drive. I downloaded the file onto my laptop. It was exactly what I saw on Thursday morning, the cold, clinical instructions for maximum humiliation. I looked at the file, then deleted it forever from my hard drive. I didn't need the evidence, I just needed to know I had the power to stop her. I walked back downstairs, ready to finally stop being the tech assistant corporate spy and start being the nephew. The wedding was, despite everything, gorgeous. Martha was stunning. Peter was teary-eyed. There were no allergic reactions. The specialty Ben and Jerry's tubs were a hit. I made sure to sample 3 to confirm. And Dr. Fielding, still shaken from the conference, gave a genuinely lovely toast about integrity and family. Teresa did not attend. Fast forward to 3 days later. I'm sitting at my kitchen table back at my community college apartment trying to catch up on 3 weeks of Miss Comp Sci assignments. My phone has 47 notifications, all related to the fallout. The unexpected alliance worked, but only to neutralize a larger threat. It didn't bring reconciliation. Martha's firm survived the initial shock thanks to her quick alienated rebuttal. She actually landed a major new client this morning, impressed by her handling of the crisis. She's completely exhausted but finally happy. She zelled me $1,500 and texted, "Buy yourself some real food, Alan, not just Chipotle, and maybe a new laptop. You earned it." Teresa, meanwhile, is facing a nightmare. The internal investigation at her firm is massive. Not only did she get exposed for attempting to assassinate her sister's firm, but the data breach that Celeste exploited proved her entire division was vulnerable. Last night, I got a long, rambling text from her, not her assistant, which was a first. "Alan, I'm being forced to take a long-term sabbatical. It's a polite way of saying they're freezing me out. I lost everything, Alan, all of it. I gave up everything for this career and it turns out I just ended up losing it anyway. I'm sorry, not just about the wedding, but about everything. I should have come to your graduation. I wish I was joking about being sorry. I don't know what I am going to do now, but I understand if you hate me. I read the text 10 times. I didn't respond. I didn't hate her, NGL. I just felt empty and profoundly sad for the 10-year-old me who waited for her to call." The resolution wasn't clean. There was no movie moment where Teresa realized the error of her ways and became a great mom. She lost her job, she realized her mistake only when she lost her justification for leaving, and she's now facing the reality of having no professional status and zero emotional connection to her remaining family. But the alliance with Martha, that stuck in a weird way. We survived a corporate assassination attempt, a physical sabotage plot, and a 3-way executive wrestling match. We are bonded by trauma and shared secrets. Martha and I talk every day now, not just about technical duties, but about life. She's sending me links to 4-year universities, urging me to look at transferring, telling me she thinks I'd be brilliant in cybersecurity. She actually listens when I talk about my classes. She's the anchor she always was, but now there's a new layer of mutual respect. We were in the trenches together. I'm not going to pretend I'm okay. I still jump when my phone rings with an unfamiliar number. I still feel guilty that I participated in sabotage, even if it was equalizing. I learned that adults, especially powerful ones, are deeply broken and will leverage anything, even their estranged son, to win. I did something I never would have done before. I realized I couldn't carry the weight of Teresa's failure and Martha's ambition forever. I finally responded to Teresa's text 2 days ago, 3 words, "Take the sabbatical." I blocked her number right after. It felt amazing. I still have a massive deductible to meet for therapy and I'm still using my cracked iPhone, but I am eating real food thanks to Martha, and I'm actually starting to look forward to my comp sci classes. Yesterday, I was walking across campus, completely exhausted from a full week of homework, and I saw a food truck selling churros. I bought one and I just stood there eating this warm cinnamon sugar white thing and I realized I survived. I faced down corporate espionage and wedding poisoning and I still get to decide what my future looks like. That feeling of control, priceless. I'm Alan Ward, 19M, introspective learner, temporary corporate saboteur, and I'm out of the family business for good. Anyway, that's the full messy update. I hope my story makes someone else feel less crazy about their own messed up family. We'll update if Teresa ever tries to sell me money again. I might actually accept it this time, NGL, because that insurance deductible is no joke.